Hey guys, Welsknight here, and welcome back to another episode from the Pixelmon Let's Go server. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. I'm having a fantastic day. Last episode, we started working on our shop to sell perfect Pokemon. And you may remember I talked a little bit about how in order to continue building the shop, there's going to be a fairly large underground section, and I'm going to need a beacon. Well, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm mining. I'm basically in a mesa right now, and I'm pretty much just looking for gold and anything else I can come across. But primarily gold, and I need to get a total of, I believe, 24 stacks of gold, and I think I already have like 4 or 5 of that back at my home base, and that'll be enough for an entire full beacon base so that we can have efficiency 5 and haste 2 and instamine, essentially. That's what it's all about. So I thought today would be a good day for a talkie episode, because I'm going to be mining probably for the better part of, I don't know, 4-5 hours? Maybe not that long. I don't know. It's going to take a while because I need so much gold. And yes, you can find gold in relatively, please don't, Roggenrola. You can find gold in relatively large amounts in a mesa fairly easily. But the other thing to keep in mind is this is also a server, and I'm not the first person to have had this idea. So I've come to a lot of these caves and stuff in the mesa. I'm in the mesa that's like north of Spawn Town. I've come to a lot of these areas and basically found nothing. I've found stuff that's pretty much already been cleared out. But I've also found a few, like this one that I'm in right now, that have been pretty good and have given us like a decent amount of iron and gold and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I thought, you know what? While I'm doing this, I haven't done a talkie episode in like forever, so I'm gonna do a talkie episode. Also, you can see my night vision buff is failing, so we can just right click with our moonstone shovel and save myself ever having to use torches down here and making it so that you guys can still see. So that's fantastic. Anyway, so for today's talkie episode, I was kind of thinking the other day about just, life and stuff like that. And my wife is a wonderful person. But if she has one character flaw, like if I had to pick one thing about her that I wish I could change, it's that she worries about like everything. She is a very, I don't know if I necessarily want to use the word anxious, but she is a worrier. She is a planner and a worrier, which is hilarious because, and I think I've talked about this before, but my wife and I are almost polar opposites when it comes to like planning and thinking about the future and stuff like that. I'm very much like, we'll figure it out and kind of make it up as I go. And that's when I feel like I'm in my element is when I'm essentially just making things up and playing it by ear. Like that's who I am. I'm not one to really like make lists or plan things out long term. And my wife is like, yeah, I know I know we're not buying a house for like another 5 years, but here are a list of all the houses that I've been looking at in our area and what the current market value is and what the expected places we could do. And also this is where we could go for home loans. And like, that's my wife. And I'm like, hun, we're not even looking at buying a house for years. Why are we looking at this now? And she's like, because I like to plan. I'm like, okay. But anyway, and now I'm getting off of the topic that I want to discuss. But anyway, she's a worrier. She's a planner, and she gets very anxious about like things that ultimately don't really matter. Like she gets hung up on minute details, or at least what I consider to be minute details. And also, she comes from a very, very large family. She's the youngest of no less than 9 children. And anytime you have a family that big, I feel like there's always like a certain amount of family drama to deal with, if that makes sense. Like I have one sibling, I have a younger sister, and she's wonderful, and we get along most of the time. But even like with one sibling, I butt heads with her occasionally. And my wife is the youngest of 9 children, and she butts heads with her siblings like constantly. Their entire family just often is like it's like a love-hate relationship. You know, like they get hung up on little arguments, and this person did this thing and like stuff like that. And you know, there'll be times when my wife will talk with like a family member on the phone, and afterwards her entire day will just be ruined because that family member said one thing that really got on my wife's nerves, and like that's it. Like day is over, week ruined, and on and on and on. And the point that I'm getting to in this extremely roundabout fashion is that I think a lot of people have a tendency to get hung up on things that really don't matter in the long term. You know, like, and that can be any number of things. That can be like a financial thing, right? Like, I don't know, I can't afford to buy Christmas presents for my child or something, you know, like any number of things. And that's just one example. I can't afford to buy my girlfriend a Valentine's gift because I'm broke right now, right? Like, and that is a thing that, like, for some people that would be a huge deal, and it would just like really get them down. And then if you think about it in the long term, like if your girlfriend is really like the right type of person that you want to be in a relationship with, they wouldn't care. Like they would understand that money's tight and, you know, you can't always afford to buy presents for Valentine's Day or some arbitrary holiday that, you know what I mean? Like, I think, and like, so it's not something that matters in the long term, you know, or maybe you get hung up because somebody made a comment at work or at school or something that you thought was very condescending. And then they like let that one negative interaction with one person basically ruin like their entire day. You know, the whole idea is, you know, don't sweat the people have a tendency to sweat the small stuff, to get hung up on minute details or petty nonsense that really doesn't matter. And I don't know who came up with it, but there's a wonderful quote / rule to live by. I think it's called like the rule of fives or something along those lines. And basically the idea is, if something is not going to matter in 5 years, then you shouldn't let it bother you for more than like 5 minutes. In other words, don't spend a whole bunch of time worrying about things and letting things stress you out that don't really matter in the long run. And I think that's like a thing that is an incredibly important life skill. I am, for the most part, a fairly stress-free individual. Like, I do get stressed about things from time to time. There are things that get on my nerves. There are things that bother me. You know, I'm only human. But I think one of the things that I have done over the years is, to help really kind of like mitigate some level of that stress is I am very much like a big picture kind of guy, if that makes sense. Like I'm the type of person who is like, I'm capable of being detail oriented. If there's something that requires it, right? Like a project or something, like I have the ability to pay attention to detail if I need to. But when I'm thinking ahead, or when I'm planning, or when I'm evaluating a decision or something like that, I'm really generally not focused on the specific details. I'm focused on the more long-term, big picture ramifications, right? If I take action A, what happens? Or what could potentially happen? What's the best and worst possible outcome? Okay, so those are the outcomes. You know, is this worth doing? What's the long-term effect? Should I bother with this, or is it not worth my time? You know, like that's the way that I think about things and that I evaluate decisions. And I think in many ways it helps me a lot when it comes to mitigating stress. And I'm sure you've probably heard it from YouTubers on many occasions, but YouTube can be a very stressful job in many ways because, first of all, you're kind of like the captain of your own ship. You're the master of your own destiny. And, you know, like, if something goes wrong, like, you generally don't really have anyone to blame but yourself. But at the same time, YouTube itself seems to, like, sometimes it seems like they're almost actively working against you trying to be successful at your job and life. Like, it can be absolutely infuriating sometimes. Like, they're not good at communicating things. But you're your own boss, and you have to essentially take charge and motivate yourself to do things. And honestly, like, over the last couple months, I've been very bad at that. I've been in almost kind of a funk. Like, I haven't really felt like myself for the last couple months, and I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it's like the weather or if I've just, I think mostly it's just that I've been like super burned out on vanilla Minecraft, and like there's a certain level of demand for me to play vanilla Minecraft from my audience, and I feel a sense of obligation to you guys, you know, because like I want to be putting out content for you guys and that you guys enjoy, but then at the same time, like, when I'm not doing that, I feel almost like I'm failing, right? Like, Hermitcraft is a great example, right? Like, right now, I haven't put out a Hermitcraft episode in months, and it's not because I don't want to. It's not that, like, I'm done with Hermitcraft forever, or that, like, there was, I don't know, some sort of a falling out in the group or anything. It wasn't anything ridiculous like that. I'm just, like, super burned out on vanilla Minecraft, and, like, I don't have any ideas for Hermitcraft. And I don't feel like I have anything to make content with. I come back late. I feel like Hermitcraft right now is not a good vehicle to express my creativity, because I don't feel like there's anything that I particularly feel like doing on Hermitcraft, and as a result, I haven't put out any Hermitcraft episodes for quite a long time. And in many ways, that is frustrating, not only for viewers, but for myself. Because I know that you guys want to see Hermitcraft episodes, and I wish I had ideas for it, but I just don't. I just don't, like, nothing that I've thought of that could be done on Hermitcraft by me right now sounds like fun, and I want to be having fun while I'm creating content, because I think that is the best content, is the content that I'm making when I'm having a good time and when I'm enjoying myself. I think that's when I'm able to create the most positive and you know, day brightening content, which is, I think, is the reason that people watch my videos, is to kind of just chill and relax and enjoy themselves. But once again, I'm getting horribly off topic here. Here's the thing, right? Is whether or not I put out a Hermitcraft episode today or tomorrow or next week or even 2 months from now, is that gonna matter in the year 2024? Probably not. No, it really isn't. You know, like, nobody's gonna remember that far back and be like, hey, you know, I was gonna be, I was gonna like your channel, but, you know, you would have exploded if you had just put out a Hermitcraft episode on, April, you know, 17th, 2019. That would have been the one. No, that's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, it really isn't gonna matter in the long term. And I've spent so long over the last couple months just, like, eating myself up because I haven't been able to find that like creative spark that keeps me encouraged to keep making the videos that I know that my audience wants. I haven't been able to find that. I lost it. And I was thinking about it the other day, and it just doesn't really matter that much. I just need to continue doing my own thing, and, you know, there will be some viewers that may leave, and there will be new viewers that come in, and the people who really want to watch my content will continue to watch it. And that's that. You know what I mean? Like, I've been so hung up on the minute detail of whether or not it really matters, or the minute detail of whether or not I'm making specific types of videos. And as a result, my whole channel has basically suffered. Like, there was a time that many of you may remember where I was putting out 3 to 4 to 5 videos a day spread across 2 channels. And now I'm at a point where I'm basically doing like 1 video on my main channel. And over the last couple of months, it's been like 1 video every couple of days. And then, you know, for a long time, my second channel wasn't doing anything, although I did recently start doing a series on Sekiro, which is amazing, by the way, and I'm absolutely loving. Probably my game of the year for this year. But anyway, and like, I just need to stop doing that. I just need to focus on doing what is, you know, doing what I know. Nothing in here. Okay, that's already been looted, probably by someone. You know what? I don't think I'm really going to find much more else here. It looks like this has been pretty significantly looted by other players and also, oh, hello, and also by myself. So once again, you know, I need to not sweat the small stuff. I need to not let something that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things get me down for such a long period of time. That's not, you know, that's like a life lesson and a point of view that I have tried to follow for years and years and years and years. And I kind of forgot a little bit of, I forgot about that. I as cliche as it sounds, I lost myself, if that makes any sense. And I got mired down in these little nitpicky details that don't really matter in the long term. So I don't know. I'm kind of at a point now where I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, and, you know, people will watch or not watch, and I'm just going to keep doing my thing, and that's what's going to happen, you know? And that's going to lead to just a much better everything for me, you know, quality of life. It'll get my channel back on track and all this other kind of stuff, because I'm not going to let something that won't matter 5 years from now bother me for more than a couple minutes. I've just kind of made the decision that the time has come for me to focus on doing what I need to do, like, for myself, if that makes any sense. Let's just put, I think the sunstone's technically supposed to go in here. There we go. These go in there, like so. Grab 1 stack of cobblestone to use as that. Oh, hey, we got a fossil. I don't even know when we got that fossil, but whatever, it's fine. I need to just focus on doing this. And going back, I started the whole thing off by talking about my wife. I think my wife could benefit from that advice as well, if she would just not let things that don't matter in the long term bother her so much. And now, I fully realize that is much easier said than done. You know, it's not as simple for many people as just like flipping a switch that's like, I'm not going to be anxious about, I'm not going to worry about things today. You know, like, it's not, that's not something that you can just do at the, you know, at the drop of a hat. Just, you know, snap your fingers and no longer worry about things. Yeah, I wish. Wouldn't that be nice? Like, can you imagine? Life would be so much better if we could all just snap our fingers and completely change our mood into whatever mood we want, whenever we want. That would be great. No, it doesn't work like that. But I think it is fully possible to make a conscious effort to not let something get to you more than it should. And there are certainly things in life that you should worry about and that you should, you know, pay attention to and address and all that other kind of, you know, like, I'm not saying, like, don't be completely carefree of everything. Like, obviously there's some level of, like, responsibility that you need to take with your own life. But at the same time, I think if you don't get hung up on the minor details, don't get hung up in minutia and petty nonsense that doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if Susie from school doesn't like your shoes. Like, okay, she doesn't like your shoes. Who cares? You know, that's not going to matter in a couple of years. Even though I know it stinks to have someone insulting your style, in like, okay, I know it hurts your feelings, but it doesn't really matter that much long term. It's just something that stings a little bit for now, and someday you either won't even remember it at all, or you'll look back and go, wow, I really was wearing those shoes at that age. I mean, have you ever looked back at your fashion? Like, and this is probably more for the older people. And when I say older, I mean like not children. What did we wear when we were children? I was looking back at old pictures of me as like a child. What was this fashion sense? Like, what, the 90s, which is when I was born in the 80s, but I grew up in the 90s primarily. Man, I was wearing like sweatpants and windbreakers and like wind pants, and I don't even know what I was supposed to be wearing. You'll look back at like pictures of my dad growing up. He was wearing like bell-bottom jeans, and man, I don't know. Someday you will look back and laugh at the fashion, at what was in style when you were growing up. But anyway, that's a completely different topic for another day. Yeah, now wow. See, this is the problem with the talkie episodes. I don't script the talkie episodes, so sometimes I just end up rambling about complete and utter nonsense for like 30 minutes. But I think that's kind of half the fun as well. Anyway, so don't get hung up on small details. Don't let little things get to you. And there's a million ways you could say that phrase. So, someone on Twitter, I was talking about this on Twitter the other day, and there was a fellow veteran who replied and said, yeah, I agree. The way that I like to say it, though, is, if it's not going to kill me, don't let it stress me out. And that's another way you could look at it. Or you could look at it as, like, I said, when I was tweeting about it, I said, to translate it into soldier speak, to suck it up, buttercup, and drive on, don't just deal with it and move on with your life, because it doesn't matter. Or you could think about it in the don't sweat the small stuff. You could say, don't let little things get to you. Focus on what really matters. There's a billion different ways that you could say it. And many of them are more cliche than others. But I think the big takeaway is that, focus on what's truly important in life, and don't let little things get to you. And as a result, you will be just overall a much happier person, and have a much more, a much better life. I think it's one of those things where if you really do take that idea of not letting things that aren't going to matter long term bother you for more than a couple of minutes, I think if you really take that to heart and put it into practice, I think your life as a result will be much better than if you don't, because there are so many stressors and little things that will pop up over the course of just an average day, that if you spend a bunch of time and energy and worrying about all of them, they'll just eat you alive. And I think it's important to save that energy and that worry and that time and all that kind of stuff. Save it for stuff that's actually worth worrying about. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling at this point. But I hope I got my point across. I'm going to continue mining for what appears to be several more hours, so I can get all the gold and stuff like that I need. On a positive note, I will probably have enough iron and other things to last me for a while too. And yes, before anyone says it, I know I can use iron for a beacon base as well, and there are other blocks that could be used too, but I'm really not one to have like a mixed beacon base. For whatever reason, it drives me insane knowing that there are gold and iron blocks in my beacon base. I know. Oh no, my YouTuber sense will not allow it. But also iron is very useful because you need it to make Pokeballs and stuff. So I figure I'll just go all gold since we're in a mesa anyway. Might as well. Anyway, guys, I think that is going to do it for today's episode. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Links in the description below, so check that out as well. Otherwise, my friends, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.